All right, Zach, obviously Ohio State wins the national championship. We're not breaking any news there, but looking ahead at 2025, obviously maybe the most important question that is going to have to be answered is at quarterback. Just immediate thoughts there for next season.
They love Julian Sayin, and I know he was a massive recruit. Went to Bama. Saban retired, transferred to Ohio State. Um, he's kind of just assumed to be the guy. They have a 5-star true freshman coming in, Tavian St. Clair, who looks like an NFL quarterback right now, coming from a really small school in Ohio. Usually that means there's a transition period there, trying to learn like oh shit, like I can throw to kids who run under a 4.9. Like you gotta adjust a little bit. So I don't know that he'll be ready. Lincoln Keenholz is the other quarterback they even have on roster, who was a project kid. And if you remember the Missouri game, he had to play and couldn't throw a pass. And I think talented kid. I mean, he was all state in 3 different sports in West Dakota or whatever Dakota he came from. And so it's just kind of assumed. And also, not only all that, I mean, reports back from practice are Julian saying he has a whip. Like when the ball comes out of his hand, it pops. Doesn't look like a college quarterback. Looks like almost Spider-Man, like just like a young kid. You're like, wow, you're a college quarterback, huh? But he's got the arm talent. Now, I can't say that with a straight face and not say the couple of times as the third string quarterback he went in the game, he kind of made you go, ooh, that didn't look like he bounced the ball on a hitch. Like it didn't look great. I think it's just nerves because they love him inside the Woody Hayes. And I think they're pretty much hanging their hat. They didn't go get a guy in the portal. They're just hanging their hat that he's a dude.
Do you think that there were a lot of questions about Will Howard, and he had a better who he throws to, and the talent around him matters. But he never completed a season at Kansas State. He got benched, right, for Avery Johnson. And so, is there some confidence that like and this is not a shot at Will, but is there some confidence that like look what we did with Will, like we can do this again, like whether it's with Sayin or anybody else?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Will Howard was the beneficiary of coming into a situation where literally all he had to do was distribute the ball, nothing special, and don't throw touchdown and don't throw interceptions. Like don't turn the ball over. And I don't know if they're going to have the same luxury this year, but the one thing he brought that made him the perfect quarterback for this team was he had that moxie. He had that leadership. Like you watch him in the post game, like after he played bad against Nebraska, and he's like, "Yeah, I played awful, man. I'm thankful for my teammates because I could have lost that one for us." Like he owned everything. People respected him, and he led the offense. And to be honest, early in the year, he couldn't throw the deep ball very well. He missed some throws, and they got really conservative with him, and he started getting better at it. And they still were calling games conservatively, even though I'm watching film like, I don't know, he was 3 for 3 on deep balls. Why aren't we opening it up? And they got to the playoffs and said, all right, unleash him. And he balled. I mean, he hooped, and it was really fun to watch. So yeah, I think kind of the feeling is we just need to make sure we're really, really good everywhere. And then Julian Sayin just has to be a redshirt freshman quarterback that's just don't make mistakes and figure it out, grow and become a college quarterback.
Yeah. Is it possible, like, is it, you coach this position, is it physically possible for Jeremiah Smith to get better than he was in 2024?
I mean, yeah, the scary part is, I mean, he still doesn't understand really what he's doing. He's just so freaky and so talented that when he adds and he's one of the hardest working kids I've heard of. I've obviously not worked with him, but they talk about him like he works like no one ever has. And he seems like a pretty smart kid. So once he starts to learn the intricacies of coverages, of attacking defenders, and he got better through the course of the year, I think you're going to see not a sophomore slump, like a sophomore explosion as he just understands what's going on better and he can play even faster. That kid is, I don't even know what his ceiling is. I really don't.
Yeah. I've said this, I don't know if I've said it to you, but it's almost unfair that he has to play 2 more years in college football, not only to him, but to the rest of the Big Ten, the rest of college football, that he has to be around 2 more years. Like I've never really thought much about the NFL changing that rule. If there was ever a player to change it for, I feel like he would be the first wide receiver taken this year. And there's no question about that.
He absolutely would. And, you know, I never, ever, ever buy into the hype of freshmen. And they were talking about him after spring. Like he's the best receiver that we've had at Ohio State right now, like as a 17, 18-year-old. And I'm like, you're sitting here like, stop it. Like people say dramatic stuff all the time. They said similar things about Cardinal Tate a year earlier. But this kid's, when I first watched him play, I was like, all right, I'm buying the hype on this one. This is the first one I'll buy. And it's fun to watch. That's for sure.
It's absolutely stupid. The trust they have in him too. Throwing that ball up on third, they got the look they wanted, but throwing that ball up on 3rd and 10, to steal it was, they trust him too. So, is there a position group that we're way out, right, in late January, but is there a position group outside of quarterback that you would say like, we need to address this? Somebody needs to step up. They need to find somebody in the swing window. Kind of hey, we need to look at this for 25 to make sure we're not lacking.
Well, I think they did a great job in the portal addressing the tackle position. I love the two they got, the kid from Minnesota and the kid from Rice. That would have been my biggest one before this portal window opened and closed, because they weren't great at tackle. I mean, they had an NFL tackle in Josh Simmons. He went out at the Oregon game with a knee injury, done for the year. The right tackle's a big, stiff white kid that really played above his means, and they just didn't have tackles in the program. They went out and got 2 really good ones. So I think the offensive line is going to be really good. They went out and got a Purdue's tight end to come transfer in. I think they'll be solid at tight end. The quarterback position is the one, right? Like all teams that don't have a returning proven starter. And then defensively, I think getting back Sonny Styles was massive. Getting back Davis Igbinosun was huge because they were going to lose all 3 corners. And Caleb Downs being able to kind of tutor either Malik Hartford or Jalen McClain, the 2 young safeties that played well when they played, will be big. So for me, probably on the entire team outside of quarterback, I'm going to say corner. I mean, and more specifically that nickel position, the kid that people don't talk about enough on that Ohio State defense was Jordan Hancock. He played nickel. He was physical, an excellent tackler, an excellent blitzer, and he's going to leave. And they have Lorenzo Styles, Sonny's brother, still on roster. He played some this year, looked okay, but that's one where I'm like, it's just not the same. I think they're still going to be good up front. The linebackers, Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese, I think are going to be really good. I don't want to discredit what Cody Simon did at middle linebacker because he had an outstanding year. He's an NFL football player. When I watch Arvell Reese play linebacker, I'm like, see, that's what Georgia has. Like, that's what it looks like because he just looks a little different.
The schedule maybe sets up somewhat favorably for Ohio State this year too. We do have the Texas matchup early, which is a ton of fun. I can't imagine that hurts either team super bad, right? Like either way it goes. And then I think the Big Ten works out well too. You get Penn State at home. Obviously they return a lot on offense. And then we talked about Jim Knowles in the last segment. Michigan on the road, obviously trying to exercise that curse. But, Ohio State's going to have some wiggle room again this year. And honestly, I mean, no Ohio State fan wants to accept this, but if they go 10-2, I mean, they're in it again. And then it's just about getting hot again in 4 games. It is very much a what have you done for me lately? Have fans already moved on to, all right, we got to repeat? Like, are they still enjoying the championship at all? Or is it like, all right, go win it again?
You know what? It was just, it's been that. I mean, I don't think people are delusional. Like, oh, we're going to repeat. I think they like that we have a chance up here, but it was just, everything's happened so fast with Jim Knowles leaving. It's like there was no time for them to really, for Buckeye fans to like enjoy it. It was like, we didn't even make it to the next weekend. I mean, they won it on Monday night, and that Saturday, Jim Knowles leaves for Penn State. It's like pure chaos up here. Add in the Michigan notice of allegation response getting published, and it's been absolute chaos up here. I feel like after the national championship celebration, people are just, there's too much going on for them to be like, oh yeah, we won it all. We should like celebrate this a little bit.
The hype around it just in college football in general seemed weird too. And I think it had to do with how late in the season it happened. Like the game happening on January 20th, it just, teams have been out of it for that point at a month and a half, right? And you just keep extending it by 10 days, 10 days, 10 days. And I liked more football. Like, I'm not going to complain about that, but I did think the timeline made it weird too. You're celebrating a national championship and it's almost February.
Yeah, it definitely did. It's going to take some adjusting. And I think the other problem is there wasn't really upsets. Like, I guess Georgia lost. That was one upset.
They were as a 1-point favorite.
Yeah. And you're sitting here like, damn, I was expecting March Madness. Like some Cinderella knocks off an undefeated team. But the way they structured all the seedings was just like, okay, once Ohio State was playing the way they were, you're like, oh, no one's stopping this team.
Yeah.
Like they're going to win by double digits every game, and then they did, and you're like, well, that was kind of anticlimactic.
Yeah, not as exciting. The only upsets were the Alabama fans crying about not getting in. So they can always be upset.
Always.
Appreciate you tuning into College Football Addiction. Appreciate Zach Smith from Menace to Sports for taking a few minutes and chatting with us. If you haven't already, make sure you click the link in the description and go subscribe to his channel. If you're a Buckeyes fan, if you're a fan of any team in the Big Ten, if you're just a college football fan in general, his content is some of the best here on YouTube. We'd love if you did the same here. But again, I'm not asking for myself. Go make sure you're subscribed to Menace to Sports. Appreciate Zach. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon on College Football Addiction.